Saving money. Saving money is a good thing. Everyone tells you to do it. What I've noticed after coming to China is most people have this habit of saving huge sums of their money. Here, the stats say that roughly 6 in 10 Chinese households save for emergencies compared to about 3 in 10 US households, which is a lot. But in China, saving on a massive scale helped create something weird. Whole cities built and bought and left empty. No people, no life, just buildings. Welcome to the Chinese saving paradox. Okay, but first let's slow down. What is a paradox? A paradox is a situation that seems logical at first but leads to unexpected results. For example, in this case, saving money is rational for one person, but when millions do it at the same time, it creates problems. This idea is known as the paradox of thrift, introduced by economist John Maynard Keynes. Keynes argued that if households collectively increase savings, demand will fall. So, less spending means fewer sales, lower profits, and also slower economic growth. Now, apply this logic to a whole country. China has one of the biggest household savings rates in the world. Even when incomes grow, consumption grows much more slowly. On an individual level, it's rational, but on a national level, it's quite problematic.
So now let's get into the reasons why Chinese people save so much money. Number one, history. China's recent past include famine, wars, and political instability. And so, for older generations, scarcity was something they lived through. Saving money became a survival strategy passed down through generations to generations. Second, there are limited social safety nets. Healthcare, education, housing, retirement, much of this is paid out of your own pocket. So saving really isn't optional, it's a must. And we are also our own insurance company. Third, demographics. Because of the one child policy, one working adult may need to support two parents and four grandparents. And imagine if you're gonna start a family later on too. You're gonna have to support your children and your wife, and then you have to pay for school, for a house, for a car. Just too much for one person. That's why people save money to spend money on all these important things. So there's a name for this, and economists call it intergenerational dependency burden. Fourth, status and culture. So savings are often linked to social respect. Most of the time, if people have a lot of savings in their account, they're considered pretty respectful, like people respect them. But if they waste money on luxury items and things like that, they would be seen as someone who is not responsible for their money. And strangely, savings are also tied to marriage prospects. Usually, when Chinese men want to court a Chinese woman, they would have to have a house and a car and things like that first to prove that he could make a life for her. That there are traditions like hongbao or red envelopes that reinforce saving large sums for weddings, holidays, and family events. Finally, digital payments. Now, you would think that with apps like Alipay and WeChat Pay, people would start spending more because of how convenient and easy it is to use. But ironically, no. These apps make people save, invest, and track money easier. But they also make people more aware of every expense. So instead of spending, people often save even more money.
So, in conclusion, Chinese households teach their kids not to spend money on junk foods and unnecessary things. That makes Chinese families more careful with money. And yes, these kind of things are less important and not studied expenditures. They found housing as a place to live and a little to none investment. And if they spend money, they like to buy more food and some things they can use in the future, but not for spendings. They don't see them as a serious problems as in like ghost cities. because in China it's normal and it has a lot of examples. They don't have people lives and they have big places without any big risk of atmospheres.
Now, let's talk about one major outcome, which is manufacturing overcapacity. When households save instead of spend, domestic consumption stays weak. People buy fewer goods. But factories keep producing. For years and years, China's economy rewarded production, exports, and growth targets. So supply kept rising even when demand didn't. The result? There's too many factories, too many products, and not enough buyers. Prices fall, profits shrink, and companies rely on debt just to survive. To get rid of these excess goods, products are sold overseas at very low prices, creating trade tensions. Once again, saving protects individuals, but at a scale, it creates economic pressure. Now, another major outcome are ghost cities. Now, what is a ghost city? A ghost city is an urban area where infrastructure does exist, but population and economic activity are very low. Why did this happen? It's because high household savings are often invested in real estate.
It's free real estate.
Because property was seen as a safe store of value. But at the same time, local governments relied heavily on land sites and construction to finance growth. Together, this created overinvestment in housing. Let's take Kangbashi district in Inner Mongolia. It was built in 2003 with the cost of 1.13 trillion RMB, an occupancy rate of 10% back in 2010 based on expectations of rapid population growth. Many apartments were purchased as investments, not for living. So the buildings existed, but demand for actual housing was very weak. The result? There's low occupancy, unused infrastructure, and high debt. Another example is Tianducheng near Hangzhou. It's a Paris-style city with an Eiffel Tower replica right in the center. It was designed for around 10,000 residents, but for years had only a fraction of that. Why? Well, because it had poor location, limited transport access, and distance from major job centers made it unattractive for actual living. The city wasn't useless, it was simply built faster than demand. Well, but why are ghost cities bad? Well, that's because ghost cities lead to wasted financial resources, loss of fertile land, and rising local government debt. Money, land, and materials are locked into empty buildings when it could have gone to schools, hospitals, or public services.
So, in conclusion, China's saving paradox shows us something uncomfortable, which is economic problems aren't always caused by greed or recklessness. Sometimes they're caused by everyone doing the right thing at the same time. When millions protect their own future, the present slows down. Cities rise without people and factories run without buyers. Saving keeps individuals safe, but when it goes too far, it can leave an entire economy standing still. Thank you.